Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. We often see carping criticism of Indian policies and sometimes undue criticism, unwanted even, or even misguided and misplaced criticism of those countries which do not deserve that competition. The question arises why this carping and selective criticism of countries like India by West. Is the criticism appropriate? Is it that it's born out of either ignorance or because of a certain psychological issue? Let's not forget. For example, let's take up India. India is not a country which many countries hate. USA, Europe, they don't hate India. They like India. And yet they criticize India. And they criticize India for those things which are happening in their own countries and they don't criticize at that time. Why is it? This is because they psychologically they are too obsessed with themselves. They are suffering from narcissism, which is not that by itself within limits. Let's not forget that the criticism of the West, of India, is essentially born out of two factors. One, they expect too much from India. And secondly, they care about themselves. So we do not have to pay attention to what the West is saying about India. Now, if I look at the Western commentary on India, be it India's cricket pitches, management of the COVID pandemic, or the farm bills, they exhibit 10 very similar but important identical situations that the Indians must learn from. And both the people of India and the government of India must learn that they have got to ignore that and they have to live with that. Listen, I'm no lover of cricket, but then when I look at the commentary on the spinning wickets, I'm shocked. Shocked at the sense of discrimination that marks the writings of these writers. And now let me tell you one thing. We often make our decisions about countries from what we read, while we forget that the writers, or the editors, or the columnists, or the journalists have their own axe to grind. They have their own agenda. People were writing against India when Trump was there, and Trump was not hating India. He was like favoring India all the time. So there has to be a certain differentiation between what the journalists write and what the reality is. Now, coming to the example of cricket, for example, I recall 2002, 2003, when Indians went to New Zealand on a cricket tour. The pitches that were dished out by the New Zealand were such a seamless dream that India could last all of 58, 38, 38, 43 overs in four innings of the two test series matches. The second test features a dubious record where for the first time, then at that time in 21 years, neither of the 22 players has scored half a century. Now the Indian players who were able to score so many, none of them could score even 50. So these performances were by a batting lineup that comprised the legends of Indian batting. Sehwag, Dravid, Tendulkar, Ganguly, and Lakshman. A lineup that had registered Test series victories across the world, including swinging conditions such as Headingley. And yet, The then New Zealand captain Stephen Fleming alluded, and it was a shocking thing. And he said that the Indian batsmen claim to be the best in the world. They should be able to play in such conditions. No, not one English, Australian, or South African commentators found anything wrong towards such bowler friendly conditions. Yet, I will compare when a similar take was being repeated now with the Englishmen, a very mediocre team, except one, John Root. The famous English whining is bad, it's bad, and this and that. There was no end to that. Ben Stokes is a great all rounder despite his absolutely shambling record in two visits to India. But Virat Kohli would never have been regarded great if his second trip to England was as poor as that of Ben Stokes. Jacques Callis was as good a record in India as his overall record, while Ricky Ponting's average of 26 in India is half of his overall average. Similarly, unlike Shane Warne, Dale Steyn has a good record in India as elsewhere. Callis and Steyn must be regarded as greater players than Ponting and Warne. Yet, they do not get the due in their performance in India, and they are not valued as much in those as in the Western countries. So there's an inherent prejudice. Now consider managing the national statistics. In a 76-page report, New York Attorney General has highlighted that the New York governor, who is a liberal Democrat, he fudged, faked, manipulated coronavirus deaths in the nursing homes. And this fudging was up to 50%. Governor's top aide admitted this. Now, 50% fudging. So it means if 100,000 people, 200,000 people died, they showed only 100,000 people died. And this could not be tolerated. And this was an admission by the top aide. Would any American care about a treat on this by a Bollywood star? The Bollywood star was to tweet that the Liberal Democrat has fight the figures by 50%. Nobody will bother. Imagine the reporting in the Western media if such a thing happened in a province of India. All of India would be labeled as cheats and narratives would be pushed. And there'll be generous help from the so-called Indian elite. And that the much lower deaths in India are because of the numbers are fudged. Contrast again this with a shrill complaint against the quality of Indian statistics when the change in the GDP methodology was used and the sweeping generalities were made. The economic survey of 2019-20 carefully constructed evidence would debunk that narrative that there was any manipulation, any management of the India's GDP growth. And thus the particular example employed by the sweeping generalizations was used. They forgot at that time that India had used the same methodology that had delivered the unprecedented GDP decline in Q1 of last year. So the same methodology, but one time you're accepting it when it shows the decline, and you're objecting to it when it shows the increase. Some unscientific folk would even claim that this decline was managed, was manipulated. Imagination staggers. Why should India do that? If they want to show, then the government would do it. But to show a decline of 23.9%, that is only an act of lunacy. And then they forget one thing: the scientists change their inference based on evidence. Yet, the so called scientists who made the insinuations never care to change their claims after seeing the evidence. So, evidence is there, but they close their eyes. If the evidence suits their narrative, use it. If it doesn't, ignore it. Now, come to the farmers' protest. There has been a hue and cry. I do sometimes feel that we can create celebrities of non entities. Singers are good, but they shouldn't be celebrities. Actors are good for enjoyment, but not celebrities. Celebrities should be intellectuals. But coming back to the narrative on the farmers' interest, quite interesting. There was hardly any political persona, any journalist, any actor, any singer, any street urchin who did not know even ABC about the farmers' protest was condemning India. Yet in November 2019, if you remember, French farmers protested. They clogged national highways using their tractors. The same thing what Indian farmers did. Did any Hollywood star tweet supporting them? No. It was not even mentioned in the US newspapers, while there were articles galore in New York Times, Washington Post, and special discussions on CNN, ABC, and so on. Then there was a farmers' revolt in Germany, and that has been happening against a controversial new insect protection law. That law was brought by the German government to protect the crops from the pesticides. So German farmers insist that these laws will destroy their livelihood. The same thing which the Indian farmers are saying. And what happened? German farmers choked the cities with a long line of tractors. Can you remember reading about that or hearing about that any time? No. Not a single US media outlet pushed the narrative that either the French or the German governments were dictatorial because of these farmer protests. Not a single one, zero, nada, zip. Now, as I said earlier, this sort of discriminatory behavior, is it a sign of duplicity? Possibly, yes. But it's not just duplicity. It will be naive to suggest it's just, shall I say, antagonism? No. Or antipathy? No. In this post-word truth of social media, narrative building is no different than product marketing. We have got to realize that and accept that. While product marketing involves a product, the narrative building on social media involves ideas. So, having lived in this part of the world for over 2 decades, I can vouch that the rose tinted views gathered during business trips are vocations that the Western journalists and the political leaders have, and they wish that the West would like. They're very pontifical. West would like India to succeed. Well, bullshit. Who cares whether they like or not? And if they like, why the patronizing tone is completely naive, as I said earlier. So What inference do we draw from this duplicity? A double meaning. The lesson is simply twofold. First, the Western view of India and of the world is different. For them, India is not a part of their universe. Instead of all this talk of globalization and this removal of the barriers and the borders, let's be very clear. The complete Western world of the world is centered around themselves. For more than 30% of the Americans or the Canadians, the Prime Minister of India is even today either Jawaharlal or Indira Gandhi. And when you talk of Gandhi, they immediately connect to Mahatma Gandhi. They still think that India is a country of snake charmers, jugglers, and so on. But about themselves, they think they are the best creatures ever created. And then don't forget, in any country, the media feeds what the readers want to read. So while on the one side, the media has its own agenda, other side is they want people to read so that they can earn money. So this creates a certain dichotomy. They are interested in creating stories so that the people read. Who would read? For example, if they were to say that the farmers in France are protesting, no. But Indians, the saints, the yoga people protesting, there must be something wrong. So that's the one issue. The second is the private interest drive narrative building in a matter that is almost identical to the marketing selling their products as of the private. We must be aware about the narratives that are being sold in the West. So if we are not careful, our view of the world can only become distorted. That has become distorted of the West. Pandemics. First, they were claiming that India is fudging the figures. Now, when the figures are rising, the fatalities are rising, they say, well, look here, this fudging failed. It's exactly like the Indian politicians, they blame EVM when they are losing, and the same EVM are okay when they are winning. So the Western criticism of India is more with themselves. They withdraw into a cocoon for their own issues when they happen. Well, this happens. Farmers protest. People have a right to protest. Forget it. It doesn't impact. Indian farmers protest. Heavens have fallen. Government has been dictatorial. And all sort of blah, blah, blah sort of things come up. So what to do? Ignore. Ignore this criticism because this is a criticism born out of narcissist attitudes. Ignore it with a contempt themselves. And when you start ignoring it, they will then study why India is ignoring this. And maybe at that time, then they'll come up with a real picture because they can't afford to ignore. They are criticizing you as long as you care about them. The moment you stop caring about them, then they'll start to find the good points. So try to ignore them, increase their sense of curiosity, and then see how this carping criticism comes to. Absolutely, it will be at a different level, and you'll be amazed at the transformation. Thank you.